Good morning, everyone. It's Happy Monday again. Today is August 12th, and today we will be talking about Orin's thought for the day. And I'll begin. It's wisdom is the ability to be conscious of what's happening around you, to see the higher truth and express yourself with compassion. It makes the universe around you friendly rather than hostile. Believing that everything is happening for your good renders negative energy harmless. When you act from wisdom, you feel good inside. You know that you have stopped for a moment, taken the time to reflect, and reached upward for your direction. What you then create is from that higher space. You have demonstrated wisdom many times. Use your memories of the past to fill your consciousness with visions of yourself as a wise person, rather than to remember the times you were not wise. So it's a good thought. And let me just read one more, because I feel that throughout life we do have moments where we have different things going on around us. I feel that throughout my life, all those things that were always swirling around has taught me to allow myself to always feel like the tree, like that oak tree I talked about last week I should say, in my series. And it's about the ability of a tree, how no matter how windy it gets, it just allows the wind to come. And if the tree can't uphold the winds, maybe the tree will go over, but it's okay. It'll come in another time and rise again. Or maybe not, but it's okay. It's not really concerned. It's just being the tree. Trees are an amazing teacher. If you really want to understand a lot about yourself, pay attention to a tree. There was a thought once written that as a tree grows, so must a soul. Or it might be reversed, as a soul grows. No, it's as a tree. But, allow yourself to even feel those feelings, because it's really true. We're all growing. And I thought about something too. Throughout my life, I've had a few relationships that were, the first one that was when I was a young girl, your first person that you really fall in love with, and it fell apart because he became somebody else. He got involved. He was a straight A student who got involved in, as a lot of kids do, like smoking weed and trying different drugs and drinking, and it just changed him. He became somebody I just couldn't connect with anymore. And so we did part after 5 years. I really thought that we were going to marry someday. He was the one for me. We were both going to college, and but things, like I said, they fell apart. I just couldn't understand where he was coming from. And it was hard to meet in the middle, so to speak. And years later, I would meet the person I actually saw in my higher self that I would meet and marry one day. But he never showed, and so I did marry somebody else. But he didn't show up until 2007. And it was a very, very, talk about your souls being very connected. I think sometimes people refer to this as a twin flame. Such a thing exists. Sometimes, I don't know, I just think we all kind of know each other, and some of us are closer, or maybe we've been with each other so many different times in so many different dimensions that we're here to teach each other. And he was somebody that closeness, that when we just had a hard time, it's like when we were really good together, we were beyond fantastic. But when we weren't good together, it was like mixing oil and water. It just couldn't exist together. And then again, that person did have an addiction. He smoked weed and he chose to drink. Not in excess, just here and there. But it definitely seemed to affect him or make him behave like somebody else. It's kind of like if you've ever been around somebody and they're the most peaceful, calm person, and all of a sudden, you see them an hour later and they're like mean and angry. It's like, oh my gosh, where did they go? And you keep trying to stay in that relationship, but it doesn't work because it's too chaotic, because you haven't learned yet to just be like the tree. to understand the higher view of why the experience exists. And, there was one more like that, and it was like I just couldn't do it, and it could be, I used to think, well, it's just because I've never gotten into drugs, so to speak. I never gotten into smoking weed or anything like that. Never really been a big drinker. I mean, I get a little woozy on like 200 milligrams of Advil. I don't take any pills. I don't, vitamins, nothing. I just pretty much, I guess, I don't know. Who knows how many dimensions I've had of doing things I shouldn't have been like that. And, because I think for me, it goes back to, I grew up in my beginning in this life in a very chaotic life. So maybe it makes me choose to do things that'll keep me quiet or calm and to not let things to affect me. And so, lo and behold, who knew that this was to teach me how to work with people? Because some might consider people who have, different moods, like different parts of bipolar. But I learned through my teachings with Dolores Cannon that to not diagnose or label someone, that what are the symptoms, because it's just our emotions. I've found that people who appear to be bipolar just haven't pulled themselves together, so to speak. And so the only way we can allow someone to pull themselves together is just be the space in which they can do that, to be calm. And this also falls in line with the thought that I had up here. I love the thought for the day by Edgar Cayce. I really do. And it's perfect, actually, for what we're speaking of today. And it says, individuals do not meet by chance. They are necessary in the experience of others, though they may not always use their opportunities in a spiritual way or manner. And I feel that is the same, because how many times have we had somebody go to bite our head off and yell at us, and maybe we're already in a bad mood, so we might yell back. And then we learn later that, don't respond, because as I talked about, I think it was last week, or one of these, Patty in the AM series, was how my mom would always say, to not act like somebody else, basically, you lower yourself to their level and you become like them. But we don't realize that we really do become like them. We lose ourselves, so to speak. And it's really not a good feeling place to be in. So I've found that's why, if somebody wants to argue with you, it's okay. They're just saying how they feel. But we don't need to respond. We can say, I love you. One of the relationships I had years ago, the one that was probably the most monumental to me, like I said, I think they call it like a twin flame kind of thing. But I don't know. These labels on things make me a little sketchy. But very much the closest soul I've ever had with me. And in a deeper thought, we're in dreams together, but in different dimensions. We're still working together, which is cool. But I did find, even through him, one thing he said to me, I remember him, and it was so clear, it's even clear now, that when he was upset, or it was, he always said that just tell me you love me, and I'll probably calm down. And it's so true. I was just working with someone several days ago. I don't mention names or get into too many different details because I don't want to offend anyone or hurt anyone. And, even still I might, but I can't control how others feel, but I can do my best to be a calm and just compassionate person. So, thinking, we were talking about how, we all grow up with different, I don't want to say issues, but just personalities. We can come from a huge family, and each of us deals with conflict differently. We're all separate people, so we all perceive differently. And something I didn't know is maybe we might be headstrong and think we know everything, or we might be, a little tough-skinned because maybe we had to grow up that way, because maybe, what can make us tough-skinned? Sometimes what can make us tough-skinned is just have to grow up and figure out things for yourself. Like there's no mom or dad around, not that they've abandoned us, it's just that maybe they passed or something happened, so we're left to try and figure out things on our own. And what that can do is kind of build up some protective barriers. And the only way to move through those protective barriers is to allow yourself to be loved. But the first person you have to love is you. And so the layers we must go through are not easy. But what we do learn is that the more we can become like that mighty oak tree, to just realize that winds are just swirling around us, that there's a higher message to understand. I've recently had a conflict with not being available for someone who I thought I was going to have availability. We didn't make an appointment or anything like that, And I said to myself, what I can do, and I used to have it up, I can just put in a schedule, so to speak, that you can just pick a time that I am available, of course, and prepay me. I guess I've become a little bit lackadaisy on that. I just I have a handful of clients, and they all know who they are. I don't need to name names. Or I do. I'll reach out at the beginning of the week. This is what I do have some slots available if you're interested. And then I let it go at that. If I hear back from them, fine. If I don't, that's okay, because something always comes in to fill its space. There's always work to do each day, and I do enjoy my work. I have found that no matter work I do, because I've become as this tree, that it doesn't matter what I do for work. I still have joy in that work. And if you do want to learn more about the tree and work with me, of course I'm always here. And I will post on my Facebook page and on Instagram. And let's see, I do have an Eyes of Love page. I'll make sure it's out there for everyone. So that way, if you do want to book something with me, we can have a concrete plan. And it's okay if you have to cancel. Sometimes things do happen. Sometimes I have to cancel. It's okay to just go with that flow and know that everything is always working on your behalf. It's funny because I was thinking about, how things happen in life. And, we meet people on purpose. And if I had never met the people I have met in my life, or the ones I've worked with, not even like as a client, but just people that have been my coworkers, each and every one was teaching me how to become more still, to, allow that field or present for others to grow, to not be triggered by other people's thoughts or expressions or words or actions. And I'm reminded of someone who had several children, and each time, like when I see someone or experience somebody getting upset, I understand we have feelings, and sometimes I think we're better to get them off our chest, to not hold them in, but we also have to learn how to soothe ourselves. Because if we don't learn to soothe ourselves, we'll live a life of blaming everyone else for why we're upset. But anyways, back to the story. So this person had, several children. And, there was one child who would always get really frustrated and, to the point where they'd throw themselves on the floor and just, scream. And one time they did it in, in a public area. And, this mom, they went and ran to them. And I realized, wow, that's not the best way to handle things. I didn't say it to that person, but I realized that when I was raising my own children, like when I would see them, get upset about something, they stomp their feet or whatever might happen, was to just don't go run to them, because then you're establishing how you're going to, what the relationship's going to be like. If they get upset and stomp their feet, that's what's going to make you run. So what we're better to do is let them stomp their feet a little bit, and when they're ready to soothe themselves, then we can go to them. I remember that one of my children had done that in a grocery store, And they're really, really little. They just get upset about something. It was just probably something about how they couldn't have what they wanted or whatever it might have been. Like little, like 3, 4 years old. And so I just kept walking and, and I just peeked around the corner just to make sure they were okay. And it was, not that the store was really busy or anything like that because, I'd always keep an eye on them, of course, never let them go too far away. They've always been very close to me. I love them very much. But it really does, all these experiences, all the people we meet, your parents, your loved ones, people you've loved deeply, and maybe you've lost them, but I feel that the greater cause is to really step back from everything, and what is it teaching me? Why have these people come into my life? How are they helping to mold me be a better grounded person so that later on in my years, I would come to do as I do. And what is it that I do? I do many things, and I've done many things. But mostly these days, I enjoy helping others achieve their goals, whether it's through coaching one-on-one. I do love being a medium. I love how, someone comes from beyond and helps another understand things about themselves that I couldn't even possibly know. A lot of the medium readings I do, I don't even know them. I know nothing about them. And I couldn't, I don't, some people are from clear across the other side of the world. Spirit has a way of allowing others to receive what they need to receive so that they understand that it is definitely that person. And to listen. To listen through that love channel. I have found that in medium readings. There's a young man out there, he does medium readings. I watched him once and he said something that was so important to the client before they did the medium reading. All he did was he asked that they come with an open heart. And what is an open heart? Think about what an open heart is. For a good example, if you've ever had a child with something like autism, anything that makes you have to be still to be able to communicate with them. Because a child who has autism or Asperger's or any of these other, what they've been labeled with, it's to teach us to be more centered, more calm. I put an R in that. You can tell I'm from New England. For R's and words that don't have R's. And anyways, back to the discussion. But really, what we have to learn is to almost be telepathic, to actually speak less and to be more on point with our words, to not be all over the place, to be very direct, meaning speak less. Have you ever come across someone who they never speak much, but when they do speak, listen, because it has great value. So what else did I have today because the time does move rather quickly. So what else did I have today while I try and wake up my laptop? It was constructive criticism. It took me a long time to find value in when someone would complain about what you were doing. I'd be like, wow, can't they see all the good work I've done, and I'd kind of get hurt feelings, and I'd be like, oh, and it still goes back to years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but I was working in a grocery store, and I remember the manager at the time, she was telling me how something should be done, and I was just like, I was already wiser, much wiser, and I said, thank you. I had no idea, and I couldn't have known unless you had spoken it to me. So thank you. She was so I couldn't even believe it. She was expecting, she even told me, later on, she's like, you really took me off guard. I thought you were going to snap at me for saying something. I said, no. I said, you're just telling me how to do something that you're the boss and you know how to do it, so I should listen. These are your rules, and I've chosen to be an employee in your establishment, and I should adhere to your rules, or otherwise I should go somewhere else. And so that was a great point for me. Maybe it was 20 years ago. I don't know. I was always doing little odd jobs, to whatever was convenient for me. Or I shouldn't say convenient. I'd always get a feeling that I was supposed to go do something or go be somewhere. So I'd always follow that feeling. I still do. It's just I never need to know why, because if I ask why, you'll get involved in so many circumstances. So it's just to kind of follow that feeling, It's your intuition, it's your guide. It's going to teach you something that has such great value, And as we all know, sometimes it's just to help you understand something that you haven't understood yet about yourself, something you need to maybe harness in a little tighter. So let's, maybe I should be calling my show the Mighty Oak Tree, but I feel that it's a great tool to use, the mighty oak tree. How can you look at a mighty oak tree and see it as something to point at or blame, unless it falls on your house. But even still, even that is for a reason. We never know why, though, because there's many reasons why something happens. So let's take a breath. Oh, it was the patience. That's the other one. Sorry, I get like this. I remember things. And I did put up, it's my favorite one. And it's, do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? And I think that's a great one because, I remember, we all have children. And I remember getting upset with one of my children. And I really should have just, let things settle. But I was so worried about that one child, and it was a long time ago, and I've realized now that just let things be, that it wasn't worry, it was just I was concerned about them if they were okay, because I'd always heard from them. And it's okay, just assume the best, let people grow as they need to grow, and just know that everyone's okay. And if they're not okay, there's really not much I can do about it. I can be a great love and know that circumstances happen. If we lose someone, it's not for me to worry about. It's their time, and and to be thankful for that time that I've had them. Think about even broken relationships, or even time that we've had with people. One of the best things somebody ever taught me, and it was funny because I told them that they had taught me this or spoken it to me when I was a young girl. It was when my brother died, one of my brothers, because I've lost a couple now, but it was when I was 13, and it was a horrific accident because him and my neighbor both died, and my neighbor's name was Albert, and we grew up together. He's my next door neighbor. We all played in the sandbox together. It's just, we went to the same school together. We were all really close. And to lose them both in the way that I lost them was horrific for a child to go through. And it was just so hard to lose somebody in a split second like that, But one of my brother's dear friends had said to me, he knew I was upset. And, he said to me, it's to be thankful for the time that you've had. And I was like, wow, it's carried me through to this day, and it was so profound. Too often we're upset because someone has left instead of having value and reminded of each day is a gift that we get to be with someone. To value that gift, to love it, to cherish it, but never try and control it, to just be thankful, to love all, and to accept all as they are, because maybe that's all they are meant to be. But really, the more you find that groundedness in yourself, the more you find that love of yourself, the more you can be authentic to yourself and just be you, the more accepting you are of others, and it makes you blame less and understand more the higher value of why experiences happen. That is all I have. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them on this video, or where all can see, because I don't mind taking the time when I have time to respond to those in a public platform, but I can't do it individually. Okay. Thank you all for being here with me. I love you all so much. If I don't even have words when I think about or allow myself to feel the love I have for all. It actually makes me start having tears. It's that much love. So that's all I have for today. Enjoy the beautiful moments. Each one becomes you. Either way.